The debt resulting from the French and Indian War nearly destroyed the English government. You could say this is very similar to our situation today. Every day in the news, you hear about the government arguing over the debt and spending. Political parties are both at a standstill, and negotiation and compromises are slow coming.
This song was sung by the colonists in response to British actions.
In this world we live, no wonder so many fail, even if a good they're doing. Save us from the misery, Mr. Government, government, give the people what they need.
Let's review the problem and solution facing Britain and the colonists.
The problem? How will Britain pay off the debt?
Solution? Britain will start taxing the colonists.
What a scary thought for colonists. In reality, to most, it seemed only fair that the colonists pay for the war that was, in part, fought for them.
It is important to note the note. You get it? It's important to note the note. Ha! I crack myself up. Okay, back to the actual note. Citizens in England are already paying taxes, so this isn't just something they decided to do to just the colonists. Taxes are an important part of any country because it's how the people pay for the government and its services.
Prime Minister Grenville is the man responsible for this solution. He encouraged Parliament to pass the acts, what we'll be talking about next. Let's take just a second, though, and discuss the title Prime Minister. In Britain, they are ruled by a parliamentary system. Of course, the kings and queens still have power as well, especially during this time, with King George III. However, as time passes on, the monarch's power will become more and more restricted. Today, the queen still has some power, but her position is mostly ceremonial. The Prime Minister is head of the political party who has the most seats in Parliament. This usually changes every 5 years, or whenever a new political party takes over the majority seats. The Prime Minister has similar power to our President.
Prime Minister Grenville and King George III are going to really try to exert power over the colonies. It will be these actions that push the colonists into rebellion. The first act, or tax, placed on the colonists to raise money, and not just to control trade, was the Sugar Act. Can you believe they actually wrote a song about the Sugar Act?
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you, honey, oh sugar, sugar.
This act taxed sugar and molasses. It really impacted only a small portion of the United States, New England to be exact. You see, sugar and molasses are used to make rum, and most rum makers lived in the New England region.
This also stopped colonists from printing their own money. By forcing the colonists to use the English pound, the government had more control over the money, and making it easier to track tax money that was paid as well. Once again, free enterprise was being restricted by Britain.
Harsher punishments were also being put into place for smugglers. Smuggling was quite the growing business in the colonies. As more and more enforcement of English laws, like the navigation laws, took place, more and more colonists smuggled goods into the colonies. In other words, they snuck these goods in and hid them in secret rooms and passageways. These smugglers were denied jury trials, meaning only a judge would hear the case. They were treated guilty until proven innocent, and their ships could be searched at any time for smuggled goods. And their ships and goods could be taken by the officials.
All of this in one act. Can you imagine how the colonists felt? Let's find out. The colonists couldn't have been more upset. This act was an entire violation of their rights as English citizens.
The first argument that the colonists presented was the fact that colonists did not elect representatives to Parliament. And according to English law, the Magna Carta to be exact, only elected representatives could pass tax laws. This led to the common protest slogan, "No taxation without representation." By the way, you're going to hear this a lot in this unit. Here's an actual recording of some colonists protesting.
No taxation without representation. No taxation without representation. No taxation without representation.
Now, this argument did have some valid points. For one, that is what English law stated. However, only the wealthy property-owning citizens in England were allowed to vote. So, most colonists would not have been able to vote for a representative if they were still living in England. This kind of puts a hole through their argument. On the other hand, the colonists were willing to be taxed by their own colonial assemblies.
Okay, there's a note here. This fight against taxes was never about money. I'm sure that the colonists would rather have not given up their money, but it was more the principle of being taxed without the representation in Parliament, which was a violation of their English rights as English citizens.
Not allowing smugglers jury trials was another direct violation of English law. Juries are a group of your fellow citizens who decide whether you are guilty or innocent of the crime you're accused of. People believe this is a much fairer trial than just having a judge decide the outcome. Now, that right was being taken away. Having a jury trial is a right that is guaranteed to us in our Bill of Rights today. Also, you are considered innocent until proven guilty. This act, though, treated everyone as guilty, and it was up to the person to prove themselves innocent. Searches and seizures without probable cause were yet another violation of rights the colonists faced.
The colonists continued smuggling in their goods to avoid paying taxes. In fact, it only increased as a result of the passing of this act. Colonists also formed the Committees of Correspondence. This was a system set up to spread news of British actions throughout the colonies. For the first time, we start to see the colonists unite together. Many colonists agreed to boycott sugar and molasses. In other words, they refused to buy these goods. Boycotts were an excellent method of protesting. Not only were they peaceful and therefore used by more people, but they will have the greatest impact on getting the British to make changes and even drop some of these taxes. We still see boycotts today. Just a few years ago, we were quite upset with the French for not helping us attack Iraq and Afghanistan. So some people in America started to refuse to buy French-made products to show their disapproval of French actions.